specialist spinners. How much room is there for India in their 11 as they try to firm up their ODI plans? The previous World Cup cycle, ODI World Cup cycle, had seen them persist with Yuzvendra Chahal and Kuldeep Yadav, and both of them had run riot across the world. But then when it came to the World Cup, India finally had to split them after one bad game. In this cycle too, those two are India's most prolific wicket takers among spinners in ODIs. Is there room for India to play both of them? On ESPNcricinfo Run Order, we are trying to assess India's spin build-up to the 2023 Men's ODI World Cup. So, Sanjay Manjrekar, I come to you. Can India fit tourist spinners in the same ODI playing 11?
I don't think so. Very rarely would that happen, depending on the opposition. If there is a real weakness there in the opposition to play wrist spin, then you have Kuldeep Yadav, Chahal both playing in the 11. I see Chahal being part of the squad, but I prefer Kuldeep Yadav when it comes to wrist spin as the spinner in 50 overs cricket, because I'm getting a little technical here. You need a spinner who can get wickets of batters while they're pushing, not hitting the big shots. In T20 cricket, that is something that you see very often. That's how spinners get wickets. In 50 overs cricket, it's a game where you push more than you actually slog. So a spinner capable of getting those wickets is Kuldeep Yadav. So he is my sort of first choice wrist spinner in the playing 11, and then I'll be looking at other options.
George?
So over the last 24 months, the spinners who played the most for India are Chahal, Kuldeep, Washington, Sundar and Akshar. And Jadeja has just begun to make a comeback. So I look at these five people as the pool that India are going to pick their three spinners for the squad from. And I kind of agree that I don't see space for two wrist spinners there. Like, I think India will want two spinning all-rounders and one wrist spinner. So it's going to be a tough choice. I'd like to see Kuldeep get a run leading into the World Cup as well.
Yeah, and he has been prolific, especially since he returned in 2022 with 27 wickets in 16 innings, economy just over 5, average under 25. Dustin, when it comes to the makeup, eventually, of course, that balance of India's side might dictate that you have to have that all-round option. George points out Ravindra Jadeja has actually played very little ODI cricket in this World Cup cycle. Is there room for India to see more of an Akshar Patel, or is Jadeja fairly certain to have the number 7 spot?
No, I think that number 7 spot is still up for grabs, especially given what Akshar's batting form has been like recently. And I also think that India may just try Washington Sundar again, because what Washington gives you is, one, of course, he's an off spinner, so it's a different type of bowling, so he could be an option. Plus, as a batter, he can play more roles than, say, a Jadeja can. Washington can bat up the order, he can bat, at number 7. World Cup being in India helps Jadeja's cause, because that offers him a little bit more from the pitch, but I still think that there'll be competition there.
When you combine that factor, Shashank, of Washington Sundar's batting ability and the fact that of all the spinners you may consider right now, even in a large World Cup pool, he's probably one of the only off-spin options. You'd imagine that's a tempting bet, but is he fit enough?
Yeah, fitness is the one big factor that will determine how far Washington Sundar can go. I mean, he's had all sorts of injuries over the last couple of years. And the issue has been the moment he's come back into competitive cricket, he plays half a season and then he goes out again. So, and this is record for three years now. So that's one factor with Washington Sundar. But assuming he's fully fit, I think the batting depth and the balance that he can lend to the team, especially if India are playing two frontline fast bowlers, Hardik as the third seamer. If that's the makeup of the squad, then there is room to play Washington Sundar at 8, and that kind of lengthens your batting, and that also gives you that firepower for you to go and have a balanced squad. So I think that's the one thing to factor when you're picking Washington Sundar.
So I have one more question, one more name to throw out to Sanjay, which is R. Ashwin. Are we done with him as an ODI player, or the World Cup being in India and you may be having space for 3 or 4 spinners in the squad? Could he be like an X-factor player who you don't expect to play every game, but particular oppositions, particular games where you think he can be effective, he can be one of those X-factor squad players?
What India needs even more in this World Cup are spinners who will get you wickets in the middle to just make the lives of India's dead bowlers easy. Bumrah playing is a slim chance, and India have a problem with dead bowling. And that's why I would have Chahal in the squad on a particular ground where the boundaries are long, the opposition is weak against Spain. These are the guys who will get you wickets in the middle. But on a flat pitch, small ground, too dangerous to play both Kuldeep Yadav and Yuzvendra Chahal. So I'm always going to be looking at spinners who will get you wickets in the middle just to make things easier for India's death bowlers towards the end.
But then that whole balance issue we speak of.
That is where Ashwin's, Dustin, so if Ashwin is bowling to get you wickets, then yes, maybe. But we've seen him, when he bowls in white ball cricket, it's not really, although that has improved greatly. It's not like a Chahal, who looks to get you wickets all the time.
Yeah, it's been a while since he played any ODI cricket. I think it was the start of 2022 in South Africa when Ashwin last featured. There will always be a dilemma that if India are addressing their batting, then your all-rounders are only the finger spin options who don't bring in that amount of wicket-taking threat that Sanjay points out is so important. And if you go with the wrist spinners, it involves compromising on the balance of your batting.
I want to also make one very important observation here, is that we keep talking about this all-rounder that we must have. There is no must-have kind of all-rounder. It's not part of the playing conditions or the laws of the game that you must have an all-rounder, because this is one of my pet peeves that I've had over the years. I've done a lot of research on this aspect as well. And if you look at all the 50 overs World Cup champs, you'll see most of those who won the title have played with proper batters and proper bowlers, and teams that have had the privilege or were lucky to have proper batters who could bowl a bit have had the advantage in 50 overs World Cup, like Sri Lanka, there was Pakistan when they won in 92. The West Indies, Australia, everyone. Andrew Simons, for example, in the team as a pure batter but could bowl a few overs. Yuvraj Singh for India, in the team as a batter but could bowl a few overs. Don't go looking for all-rounder, then you might find somebody who might neither do this nor that.
I wonder what you call that kind of player.
I don't know. I'm looking for a new term for that. You can help me.
Yeah, well, there was one term that flew in the last World Cup. Hopefully, we have something new come the 2023 ODI World Cup. Thank you, Sanjay. Thank you, George, Dustin, Shashank, for your company. We continue our roadmap for India's ODI World Cup plans on ESPN Cricinfo Run Order. Be sure to join us the next time.